Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are doing a manga that is super fucked up. So,
Yeah.
not for the kiddies. Not for the kiddies. It is a manga called MPD-Psycho, which, I mean, sounds kind of cool. Sounds like it's, I don't know.
We thought originally maybe it was like Metro Police Department Psycho Division or something.
Yeah, no.
At least that's what I did, because I came into this, Matt had already had a little bit of
Yes, I did a review on our YouTube
review
channel.
of this technically.
Yeah.
So
Because I read this and I was like, this is fucking awesome. We gotta do this for our main podcast. So yeah, check that out on our YouTube. I did a review of that. Yeah. So you say they're exclusives, but they're pretty much just there on YouTube.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's our YouTube exclusive.
Oh, okay.
Content.
I got you. It's just there on YouTube. It's not.
That's the only place you can get it.
Oh. I got it. There's no paywall, but
Exactly.
it's still exclusive. I like it. All right, cool. So anyway, we need to talk about
I'm trying to make it sound exciting.
We're going to talk about this after air, all right? But yes, yeah, MPD-Psycho is a book. You had never heard of this before, right?
No.
Okay.
You and Otaku Mike, shout out, are literally like my...
Shout out, Otakuology Podcast, Otaku Mike.
You guys are like my guiding light into like actually good manga.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, I watch all his reviews too, so that I can see if there's anything new or cool. Yeah. So found some stuff generally from just his stuff, but yes. So you just know you haven't seen this at all.
No, I had never.
You didn't see him review it or anything.
Had I seen this cover, I probably would be like, "Ooh, what's that about?" Because the cover art for this is really cool.
Yes, it's very sparse, but it's very cool, and that is actually my first thing with it. Like when in 2007, when I worked at the comic book store, this was always coming wrapped in plastic because it's an 18+ manga, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
You can't even preview this in
No,
the
you
store?
can't. A lot of these 18+ is wrapped in plastic, so it comes wrapped in plastic, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?" And so the cover for our listeners is it's a stark black cover, says the word MPD-Psycho. Then there's a bunch of Japanese writing and stuff. It has the artist and director name, but then there's like a blue brain with the brain stem and like
Glowy.
Yeah, it's glowing blue. And then there's like an eyeball and then something like wrapped around your like the spinal cord and everything coming down. So it's just a brain and the spinal cord like floating.
And the eyeball looks like it's kind of pushing through from the inside of the brain. It's really cool looking.
It's creepy looking. So it always caught my eye, but I was just like, manga, whatever, it's not my thing. And like, and so yeah, since I was like, hey, I'm doing manga now, might as well try that out.
It is the graphic novels from across the sea.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
It was just, in 2007. It was a little bit more like, I'm a comic book reader, you're a manga reader, and I will not cross those.
No,
lines.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like when we did our crossover, that was like the thing is like, why can't we all just get along?
Yeah, now I understand they're the same fucking thing. It just like I said, nothing against manga people. When I was younger, it just seemed like manga people were a little bit more, not hardcore. I don't want to say like more nerdy, I guess you'd say. Like, because I would be like, nah, I just read my comics and it's cool. And yeah, I'll wear like a shirt or whatever. But then like manga people get really into it. Like specifically at Comic-Con and stuff.
Yeah.
They get really into it. And I was just like, look at those nerds over there. So, but you know,
you said that it made me think like, so like comic books are kind of like in general. You're gonna hate this comparison, but comic books are gonna be like, like Star Wars fans, where you're kind of have like people all over across the board and love, and then your manga is like hardcore Trekkies, like
gotcha.
Like the guys that wear the outfits, they're like, in this episode, Captain Kirk said this specific thing, or Jean-Luc Picard said this specific thing.
They know Klingon.
Yeah.
They speak it to each other and tell jokes and stuff and laugh at each other. Yeah. That's kind of what it was like.
That's what I pictured in
If
my
you've
head.
never been to Comic-Con, specifically this is the one in San Diego, this big one.
Yeah.
There's a specific floor where like I don't know if it's like the manga floor or the anime floor where like that stuff's happening, but I remember going up like an escalator and being like, I must be lost. Where the fuck am I?
Where am I?
Yeah, because all of a sudden I was just like in the middle of like people LARPing as, you know, I don't know, Naruto or whatever at that time. And I don't know, it was just like, I am not at the right area or something. So that is kind of what I assumed all manga / anime people kind of were or whatever on that side of it. And so I was like, I don't read that. I just read comics or whatever. So I'm glad that stigma is not there anymore, or at least as much. And we're breaking down those barriers. Shout out to Otaku Mike for breaking them.
Just a fun quick side note. Kind of like Comic-Con when I was in high school, I had a high school kind of a dance function that was held at a hotel the exact same night as an anime like IkiCon, I think, or IchiCon.
Etchy.
I don't remember what the con was specific.
Which is funny because those are like the like not smut, but they're like the sexy mangas or whatever.
Yeah. It was just weird. So you like walked in and like there's a stark half of like people that are like kind of formally dressed on one side and then the other side is very hardcore cosplay.
That's kind of how I felt when I went up to that.
It's very different.
I just felt like that, and, you know, and it was stupid. It was me being young or whatever and judgmental of, you know, people having fun with whatever they like. But, you know, like I'm sure I was just as fucking nerdy, like, you know, to get me talking about Green Lantern and you'd be like, shut the fuck up.
We had a friend in our group that came to the dance first, but wore like her anime outfit that was like a little less revealing, and then went over and like modified it and went over to the con.
She just rips off like the middle, the over the boob section, the cleavage cover, and then rips that off and goes over there. Nice. So I mean, there was like a stigma when I was working at the comic store a little bit. There was like literally we were like someone would come and be like, "So what manga would you recommend?" I'm like, "Manga girl, come here." Like we had the one girl that worked at the store who read manga, and I'm like, "Katie, talk to this person. They know the stuff you do or whatever. They have questions about the things you know." So like that's like basically
direct you over there.
Yeah, it's like, you see her? She knows everything you want to know about everything. I assume, because which sounds ridiculous now to have one person that knows about manga or whatever, because she doesn't read everything.
Yeah, she probably reads like her favorite, like what, 4 or 5 maybe.
Yeah,
like they're like running or something,
and then just, you know, tries out other ones. But like, you know, girls read. Or at least she read, I'm sure, different things than I would want to read or whatever. Like, you know, somehow I don't think she's necessarily into the strongman, you know, dark fantasy shit or whatever, probably. But like, you know, it just seems ridiculous now. And of course, you'd have more than one person read manga, or at least try to have more or whatever. But like back then, it was like,
yeah, I'm sorry, our manga person's not here today. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah, come back tomorrow. I'm like, this one looks cool. Check out this cover's cool. It's wrapped in plastic, so that means it's good probably. It's at least got like boobs and a lot of violence. Yeah, you'll love it. Look on the back. What does it say? Does it say rated mature for extreme violence and gore? That's probably good. Probably
that one's good.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is one of those ones. This was one of those ones that caught my eye, but I was like, it's probably weird or something. I don't like it. I'm not gonna check it out. Also, because it was wrapped in plastic, and I don't think we were allowed to open up plastic books to like check them out or whatever.
Yeah.
Even when we worked there, because then we'd have to seal them back up or something. We didn't have a sealer, so. But yeah, so that was my only thing with this was, hey, it looks weird and cool, and since, you know, I'm trying to read more manga, I'm like, okay, well, I remember that specifically, so I'm like, let me go check that one out. It was on Comixology, so I'm like, check it out. And it's interesting because I have watched the show Hannibal, based on the, you know, Silence of the Lambs books and all those serial killer books and movies, and this manga reminded me like a lot of that show.
Yeah,
specifically because there's main characters that they think they might have multiple personalities or that they're going crazy and have schizophrenia and stuff like that. So it's kind of like. It just reminisced of that really closely, and it was very cool because that show's about as graphic as this is too. And so, like, I love it when shit doesn't pull punches. Like when you just like, oh man, like I turn the page and there's a plant growing out of someone's fucking head, like shit like that. Just like whoa, and you know, usually like media is so censored that like you don't get those. At least back in the day. Now, you know, with Netflix and all that shit, they can make whatever they want. And you get to see the full idea of pretty much what everybody was thinking, and like they don't pull any punches. So like that's why like Game of Thrones. That's why people like Game of Thrones, or like Hannibal or stuff like that, because you can literally show what you want on it and people go, holy fuck, like, you know. So that's what part of the reason why I like this kind of like more mature manga. It doesn't pull punches, at least it's like, that's what I'm like starting as my manga journey continues. That's what I'm like kind of more drawn to, is the stuff that's like 18 plus that doesn't pull punches, and that is like either like fucked up dark crime or like dark fantasy or whatever, stuff like that. So but yeah, anyway, let's get straight into this. It is a manga written by Shoyu Tajima and Eiji Otsuka. And we apologize if we pronounce any of these names wrong. We are dumb Americans. So
we are white as white dumb.
Yeah, yes. So doing my best. But yeah, so we start off, and it was interesting how this started off. I even told John, I'm like, hey, maybe go look at my review of it.
Mini review, yeah.
When you before you start this, because it's a little bit hard to figure out at first. But basically, there is a detective named Kobayashi who is on trial for murder, and it's like kind of like manslaughter murder, but it's not like serial killer murder. It's like a different kind of murder. But and like while the judge is like, you know, you're on trial for this, you know, how do you plea? Like they're giving like the sentence and all this shit, and he's like, you're not, like, you keep calling me Kobayashi, but you're wrong. I'm not Kobayashi. I'm Kazuhiko Amamiya.
Amamiya.
Sorry, that's. I always think with that, I'm like, Mamma Mia.
Yeah, you don't want to go into Mamma Mia.
But yeah, so and this confused me the first time I read this, because I've read this about twice now since I had to do the review on this. But like his hair cut is short in this, and then also he's like, I'm not that guy, I'm this guy, and I'm like, wait,
what?
And then we cut to after that, the actual detective who is like, it's weird because he's like covered in blood, but it's him with longer hair now,
and he's like, I am Kobayashi.
He's like, no, it's him turning around. He's got a knife, and he just killed someone. He says, so you're here, Yosuke Kobayashi. Like he's talking to himself, watching. Like it's almost like he's looking at the reader as if we're Kobayashi inside of his brain, or like watching him on like a TV set or whatever. Yeah. And so like this is obviously the serial killer personality that's inside of Kobayashi, and that's kind of what they're setting up. So, yeah, it was very, very weird at first, but basically Kobayashi's like, they started with this the trial, and then they go back to like the past.
What happened?
Yeah, so this is what happened. Like, basically Kobayashi is like, yeah, I had those dreams again about that serial killer, and he's talking to his girlfriend, Chizuko, and they're having lunch, and she's like, man, well, maybe you just like, you know, been working too hard, you have your phone on you all the time, you know, you should really just like take a day off or whatever, you know, we should go out, we should go on vacation, something. And as she's like bringing this up, he gets a phone call, and she's like, God damn it. And he's just like, yeah, I'll be right there. And he's like, sorry, you know, we can't, he didn't even eat with her, like literally just left her there before they even ordered or anything. So yeah, basically she's like kind of unhappy, obviously, that they didn't even get to eat lunch really. They just had some tea. That's about it. And then he leaves and he goes to a murder scene, and there's a dismembered body. This is like the first time you realize, oh, this is like a real hardcore thing. I mean, we saw the girl being like with blood on a knife and a girl that was dead, but like it wasn't that graphic. This is where you see like, oh, it's a naked woman's body without a head, and the head's looking down at you like it's from far away.
Yeah.
And I thought this was interesting because this actually, like, this is one of his murders as Amamiya. And so, but he's like looking at it, he's like, this is weird. Like, why would you hang the head to look down from the tree at the body? And I feel like it's, you know, like, because he has like a memory of the killer looking at him. So it's like, oh, was he trying to like make show that, or just show that like she's looking at herself being killed, just like you watched me killing her or something like that. I don't know, like trying to affect his memory or something. So it was interesting to see him have that flash, and then he's like, oh, that that's weird. That was like my dream. But I think also right here is where he actually switches personalities. Because I think some of this time he's working as a detective as
Kobayashi.
as the killer.
Oh, so as Amiyama.
Like right here, right before here, he's Kobayashi. Then it shows his eyes change shape.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yes. Like they're like, Kobayashi's like, yes. Like all creepy and everything. So it's like he's just kind of admiring his fucking work while he's on the job as this, detective or whatever. So
yeah, I can see that.
that's what it made it seem like. I'm not 100%. But then we see this is on the news now, and so they're like, oh, look at this, crime scene of this woman that was killed. We have, these detectives on site, and we see someone else, some other guy who's like, wait a second, how did I miss this already or whatever? And then he's like looking at the TV, and he's like, interesting. What an interesting face he has. And he's like looking at Kobayashi's face or Amamiya's face. And he's like, I think that guy is a serial killer. Like he just
has a feeling.
He just recognizes like for like or whatever. Because basically we kind of get this is a creepy guy that's watching the news or something. And then so we're just kind of left hanging with that. Then we cut to the police station. And at the police station there's like this camera guy who's like a freelance journalist that always bothers them. He's always like, what's going on? His name's Taguchi. And so he'll just show up and he's like, you got any stuff? And he'll just like put him on camera like, you got any good leads on the case? And they're like, what the fuck are you doing in here? Get out of here or whatever. He's like, no, man, I need some money too. I got to sell this stuff.
I'm just a freelancer.
Yeah, I'm just a freelancer. He's got like an eye patch. He's got an eye patch and shit. He looks pretty cool. But I thought maybe at first he was like some weird killer or something.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was going to be part of a like.
Well, now that we say that he might be because this is only volume 1. But to be fair, he does have an eye missing on the same side as there's something later on that is about eyes that might interesting. That might lead to it, but whatever. For now, he's just a freelance journalist that we see every now and then. And while they're talking, they get like a delivery.
Kobayashi gets a delivery.
Kobayashi does, but I don't think it's Kobayashi because he's still got the weird eyes.
No, I'm just saying it was. They're like, hey,
oh yes,
Kobayashi, you have a package. It's addressed to him
specifically to Kobayashi. Yes, and but like I said, I think he's still in his mode of not Kobayashi.
Yeah, because his eye, again, like you said, his eyes are kind of.
They keep showing his eyes, and they just look different.
They look a little menacing.
Yeah, they look evil. Say, and then. So they get a delivery, and it's like this, what's a cooler?
Yeah, big cooler.
A big ice chest. And when they open it, they're like, what could it be? Like desserts or something? Like someone sent the police station, like, good job, police. And they open it, and it's
a torso and head of a woman.
Of a woman, but specifically Shizuko.
Yeah.
His girlfriend. And it's his fucking girlfriend. She's still alive, but it's like arms cut off, legs cut off. She's naked in this thing. She's got like I don't know if it's air or something's going down her throat.
Yeah, some kind of breathing apparatus to her. I assume to keep oxygen. Yeah, and then there's like belts tied around where her arms and legs are cut off to stop.
Like tourniquets.
Stop the bleeding.
She won't bleed out. But it's just creepy. You can see like blood is in the water and stuff.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
Super creepy. They freak the fuck out, of course. And he's like, "Oh my god, no!" And she's looking at him, and I think she says, Yosuke, which is Kobayashi's first name, and he's like, what? Like, the fuck? And that actually looked like it switches him back into Kobayashi when he sees her or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, his personality just changes crazy. And then we just cut to several years later. So they don't let you know what reason he's in prison, but you assume maybe because we saw he was up for murder, maybe it was his girlfriend. They leave you hanging with like, did he kill his girlfriend?
Did he kill his own girlfriend?
Yeah, what happened? So then, like I said, several years later, he's in prison. I thought the name of this prison is Fuck You Prison.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. But I don't know if it's pronounced Fuck You, but it's FUCHU is the name of the prison. So I was like, now that is a good name for a prison. But yeah, basically he gets a visitor of this her name is Machi Isano, and she doesn't work for the government, but she works for like a special project that is off. Like I don't know if it's financed by the government or if it's just working alongside.
It seemed like it was like because they talk about when she's going to retire later.
Yeah, and the police are working with her. Yeah. So it's like it seems like either she's like a special project that has access to the police and the government's given her access to, or she is just like part of some government project that's going on.
Yeah.
Basically, she's like talking to Ami, or now it's he calls himself now. He's pretty much only Amamiya because he never goes back into Kobayashi for the rest of the comic, pretty much. So, or at least for this whole thing. So he's only Amamiya now, and so she's talking to him, and that's also interesting because, I mean, he's this fucking serial killer, and when we get into like this second part of this book, he just walking around.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I was thinking that too.
It's like Jesus Christ, it's pretty fucked up. But basically, she is like, hey, you seem to be doing well, but also we need help with a lot of these serial killings that have been happening. And like, we think that you have made progress and, you've done everything we've asked, like hypnotherapy and stuff. And basically we want you to go with us and show that you.
Yeah, it seems like it's like basically you're going to come under my care. We feel comfortable enough with this serial killer coming out with me.
Yeah, and she's taking responsibility of him, and he's going to help solve these murders with her, like these serial killers. Kind of like, and it is the story of fucking Hannibal. I mean, it is Silence of the Lambs if they released Hannibal into fucking Starlin's care.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. Because like. I mean, ridiculous, but terrifying as well. I mean, like, if they did that, it would be like, well, he's been really good in this cell or whatever.
Good behavior. Look, if he does this for us, we'll make it cushy for him. Quid pro quo.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, basically, that's like the premise of this is she gets him released into her custody to help out solve serial killers. And it starts off with her just going to him and getting information. And then she's like, well, I want to make this like a permanent thing. So she starts off being like, here's a serial killing. And he's like, oh, it's a cannibal. Like right away, she's showing him pictures. And they're like, why would he take this or that? He's like, oh, that's spare ribs. That's like, this meal. That's that meal. Like, oh, he's just making barbacoa out of this dude's cheeks or whatever, So like, basically he's showing them, oh, yeah, this is totally like a cannibal killer. And helps solve that one. And that kind of gives her like, the credibility to get him out, basically. Like, he's willing to work with us, and, if he's doing that and he's doing well, why don't we just, have him come on
I will
board.
take full responsibility.
Yeah. And she does this by also, like, convincing the old boss who used to work with Kobayashi. His name is Mr. Sasayama, sorry. And he's, like, the head inspector or whatever at the police precinct or whatever. So he was working. This up, Machi. Yeah, he was working with Kobayashi when they got the fucking ice chest, and then found out, that he's the one. Well, we don't know what he found out, but basically he's up for murder, right? So like he's disgraced himself in this dude's eyes, and so he does not like Kobayashi, because he worked with them and now he's a murderer, and then so that's why he's like, don't fuck this up. Aisano, like if you're gonna take care of him, you're gonna be like full responsibility for him, and if anything goes wrong, your ass is on the line, not mine, kind of thing. But like we said, he is the police and she is not. So I still think he would be kind of on, like, for the press, they'd be like, why did you allow her to take him or whatever? So he still probably knows his ass is still on the line somewhat as well. But that is where, like, she starts digging a little bit of, like, what did he do exactly? Because this is before they've got him released. She's like, will you help me save stuff? And he's like, and then I talked to Sasayama, and he's like, well, I don't know. It's kind of like a big deal to release him. Like, he's super fucked up or whatever. And so she's like, well, what did he do? And so she looks and starts talking to that journalist, Tadashi, and he's like, oh, you know what? I actually have the moment that Amamiya's birth happened or whatever. So caught on tape. So he gives her the tape, and she's watching it, and basically, it's like him trying to catch the guy. It turns out there was a serial killer who was the guy that was watching him on TV at the murder scene, and he's like, I recognize he is a serial killer and a cop.
Serial killer.
Yeah, and so that guy, that weirdo, I guess thought it would be a good idea to kidnap Kobayashi's girlfriend and cut her up and then send it to him as a gift, like, I know who you are, or whatever, talking to each other. Kind of like Red Dragon and fucking Hannibal or whatever. So that's why I said this feels like the show Hannibal, or just that world of Hannibal. Just a lot of serial killers talking to each other, talking through police and all that kind of stuff. So so Kobayashi's running through the city on this tape, chasing Shimazu, who's the killer. He's pissed because obviously his girlfriend Chizuko was killed, she's dead. And, he's like, what the fuck? I'm gonna get this guy. So Tadashi is chasing him with the camera, like, holy shit, this is just like a cop show. It's gonna be awesome. Like when I sell this to whoever, And so he runs finally up, like it's just like a TV show. Like up somehow they get onto the roof of a fucking building, and he's chasing him, and he's like, you son of a bitch, why the hell did you do it? And Shimazu's like what? You didn't like it? She was my like gift to you. We're like on the same side. She was your woman, right? And he's like, what? Like, what does that matter or whatever? And he's like, I saw you on TV and I knew you and me were two of a kind. And then like he just starts like fucking laughing like the Joker or something.
Yeah,
he's like, you're a real psycho motherfucker who loves killing just like me, right? And he's like, ha ha ha. And then that like triggers Kobayashi, where he like points, he pulls his gun out, points it at him, and at this point it's kind of like he's under arrest. He doesn't have a weapon. He's not dangerous necessarily because there's multiple people coming with him. Like cops are around the corner now.
Yeah,
and you can just hold him there, right? So turns out what actually happened is, they're still talking and stuff. This guy goes into like, oh, I didn't just kill her. Of course I like raped her multiple times and like it was awesome and you should have been there and it was like fucking crazy.
Cut off her body part.
Yeah, but like don't worry, I like left her in there in that solution of electrolytes to keep her alive, just so you could see my work and what do you think and all this stuff. And then he realizes, oh, she's dead. Is she dead? He's like, I spent all that time trying to keep her alive and you killed her? And then like that's when you see his eye switch to, at first Kobayashi's about to throw up while he's talking right there, like really freaked out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see his eye switch. And then we cut back to the hospital where it's showing him, Kobayashi standing over her. And he had turned off her like her life supports. So yeah, basically he ended up killing her, and then like, his eye switched right now, and this is where we get kind of like the interesting, I guess, like twist of this. Twist, yeah. The real twist, the extra twist is that so his eye switches, and it seems like Amamiya didn't know that she was dead either, and so what actually he just kind of like something in his head clicks on. He kind of remembers seeing the waiting room or whatever, or the room where she was in, and like the life support getting turned off, and then there's like the guy keeps laughing and he's like, "Don't you just shut the hell up?" And like, I fucking hate your laugh. And we see that his face looks really different or whatever, and that is where there is a second serial killer personality in his head, we find out.
Yeah.
So he's like, that laugh of yours really gets on my fucking nerves. And the guy's like, are you Kobayashi? And he's like, well, like, no, I'm not Amamiya either. I'm this new guy called Shinji Nishizono.
Yeah.
So
and basically he starts he starts yelling at himself, I guess internally, like,
or just outside. I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to tell 100%, but he basically, Amiyama is like, no, stop, do not kill him, Shinji. And he's like, hey, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Amiyama, shut the fuck up. I'm me now. I'm Shinji Nishizono or whatever. And so that's where you're like, oh, there's a bunch of serial killers in this dude.
Yep.
All inside one body. And the guy that killed Shizuko is like, oh, I get it. You're all together. This one guy, isn't that hilarious? And he's like, starts laughing. And then that's where we see Shinji kills him with the gun and shoots him in the head. And basically he's like, I told you that fucking laugh was annoying, didn't I? And then everybody else is like, Kobayashi, raise your hands. And then they're like, are you okay, Kobayashi? And basically it's because and also when he's Shinji, his fucking writing is totally like different or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's a little more like kind of like not crazy, but
it looks like pasted letters or something, like from a magazine or something. Like, but yeah, like the writing in his speech bubbles are different. But yeah, basically he says like Kobayashi, he's long gone or whatever, and then like that's pretty much it. And so they're like, oh, he just died. Kobayashi just died. And so now he switches back to Amamiya, and he's like, yeah, I'm back now, but I'm not Kobayashi. I'm Amamiya. So that's what she sees. She sees him say, I'm Amamiya after he killed the dude, as Shinji. And so, yeah, it's kind of like...
So it's an extra layer on top of like, oh shit, like we already knew this guy was crazy.
This reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, what's the name of it? It's the movie with Nick Cage where he's like the two brothers. Twin brothers.
Is it Magnolia?
No. It's Charlie Kaufman wrote it or whatever, but whatever that movie's called, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's about orchids, so that's why you probably thought it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but in that movie, one of his the brother that's annoying is the screenwriter brother, and he's like, I have an idea for a movie. There's a serial killer who's in prison, who's also a serial killer outside, who's like killing women, and like he's like, but how could he be inside the prison and killing people? He's like, trick photography. He's like, no, I mean like literally, if he's in prison, how can he be killing people on the outside? He's like, I don't understand what you're asking. Like, but it's like it sounds like one of those convoluted like Hollywood movies. Or there's that movie, why am I forgetting all these names of the movies? There's that French movie where there's like a woman who's like a torturer. Oh man, I wish I could remember. I don't know. It's from like the mid 2000s. Basically, she has been helping these people the whole movie, and then like at the end, it turns out she was the person who like knocked him out and put him in like a Saw scenario or whatever.
Yeah, that one's High Tension, right?
Yes, that's what it's called. High Tension.
Adaptation is the
Adaptation is the name of the Nick Cage movie. So if it's a funny like little exchange between him and his brother, but it's almost the same like storyline as this, which I thought was funny. It's like, wait, so he's a serial killer and the hero of the movie, but he's all in prison, but he's also riding a horse in this other scene. How is that possible? Like, it's like trick photography. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. He's in prison. So yeah, this is like one of those things where you're kind of like, do we need to get this crazy in this? And it's also very hard to explain. As you can see, we had to like pause it a couple times, even though you don't hear this for the magic of editing. But like we had to pause it a couple times and be like, wait,
did we get that right? Yeah.
Yes. Did we get the reveal of that right? Yes, we did. Okay. So she watches this. This is the woman who got him out. Isano, she is finally there was a third personality besides Amamiya. So that's the dangerous one, I guess. Even though Amamiya is still a serial killer too. And so I guess maybe that's why she thinks like, okay, as long as we can make that guy not come back out.
We just keep the one. We just keep Amamiya.
Yeah. So she says the one who killed Shimazu was neither Kobayashi nor Amamiya. It was the third personality. And then you just see them like allowing him to get out of prison.
Yep.
It's like, okay, but he's still like not not.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
He still has 2 serial killers. That's 2 in a body that the other one's like your regular personality is supposed to be dead, right? Kobayashi's supposedly gone.
So it's only 2 serial killers.
Only 2 serial killers. One who I guess is more behaved than the other one, maybe, but yeah, still doesn't seem like a good idea to release this guy. I don't know.
It'll be fine.
Japan, they're weird. I don't know. So, but yeah, she gets him released into her custody finally, and she's like, "Come on, I work at a private criminal lab research. You're gonna help me figure out all these, serial killers. It's gonna be great." And so she hires him, even with his multiple personality disorder, and he's very happy about that. And we're not sure why. I mean, it could be because he's planning to get out, but he's got his little coy smile. It's kind of like when Hannibal smiles at you, and you're like, "Does he want to eat me, or is he being nice?" Or,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like, and then like we said, like that's kind of the crux of this thing. The main, like interest in this whole thing is him solving murders. So, and there is some interesting stuff besides that. That's kind of, I wonder if it's going to go anywhere, but I doubt it. I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're ever going to go too evil on this. Like, for example, Isano's got like a little sister that lives with her, and he's living with her too.
Yeah. The one time, like he's there by himself, and then the little sister shows up, and she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I work with your sister." And she's like, "She never told me anything about you." He said, "She's never told me anything about you."
Yeah.
And then together, the serial killer and the little
let's go find your sister.
Get in a car together and drive to the sister, and they're both just, and it's fine.
That moment is hilarious. Personally,
it was pretty funny
because we see like her face when she walks out and sees them standing there. She's like, "What are you doing with him and her?" Like she knows he's a serial killer. The sister does not know that. And he's like, "Oh, we just, figured we'd say hi at work because she didn't believe that I worked with you. And I wanted to show her that we knew each other or whatever." And she's like, "Okay, let's get in the car together.
All 3 of us together go."
Yeah. And like, it was just basically like, you can see her being like, "I need to talk to my sister."
And she had a moment of panic.
Fucking, be alone with him. But she's still okay with him being out of prison, which I'm like,
but let's all 3 go back to the house.
Let's for sure not be alone with the scary serial killer. So, like we said, that's just one of the funny moments kind of things that happens with now that he's out or whatever, and since Isano has taken responsibility of him. But so the more interesting thing about this is the serial killers that he helps finding or whatever. So I'm assuming this first one that we encounter is the same cannibal that he had helped give information on, that let her kind of put that forward and say he helped us with this case, and then they're about to solve it now because there's someone who's like eating lunch at a cubicle, and her boss comes up and is like, "Mr. Nabi, your lunch boxes are always so very delectable." And he's, it's basically kind of like he's weirdly hitting on her or some shit, but the way he's talking about her food, and he's like, "Would you mind if I have some of your rice or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh, please, my pleasure," or whatever. And then what ends up happening is like we see it's like this cute little girl, and he's like, "This is delicious. What kind of meat is this?" She's like, "It's goat." He's like, "Goat? Huh? I've never had goat before. That's interesting." And then and so in the meantime, we see cops pulling up to this place, busting into the rooms. They got a search warrant. They're like, "What floor is it? 5th." And she's like, "Yes, ever since I was little, I haven't been able to eat pork or beef, so I eat goat." And you're like, "What the fuck?" And then the boss is like, "This is delicious. This is so good. I can't believe you always bring your lunch from home and it tastes this good." She's like, "You should try some sausage sometime. It's homemade." And he's like, "Wow." And then right as he's like, "Wow," and he's just finished like swallowing this food, he's like, this cop walks up and was like, "Warrant for your arrest. You're under arrest." And they're like, "What is it for?" And it's like, "She's suspected in the cannibal murders." and the boss is like, "Oh my God. Yeah, like, "I just ate a fucking like they're like, reports indicate the suspect cut pieces of meat from her victims and then cooked and ate them." And he's like, "Oh my God, I just ate fucking whatever she was eating. Disgusting." So they have her on film now We got what's his name? The reporter. Taguchi.
Taguchi, yeah.
Taguchi is like filming them arrest. Like he was Johnny on the spot. So he was fucking biking across town to get this because he heard about it from somewhere. I don't know where he gets this information.
He gets his tips.
That might be
tips.
part, like we were saying later on. There might be a reveal that he gets information from the eye place or whatever.
Maybe.
So but we'll talk about the eye place later. But basically, they're arresting her. He's got her on camera. She has a double-sided razor blade in her mouth and proceeds to slit her throat on camera, like for everyone to see in front of everybody, and just blood sprays out everywhere.
It's intense. It was a freaking. I turned the page and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I knew this one had an impact on you because you chose it for our our YouTube video thing. So yeah, or what is that called? Thumbnail. Yeah. So I was like, oh, John must have really been like, what the fuck when this happened. So, but yeah, basically she just like bleeds out all over the place, all on everybody, which is
she ain't getting arrested.
Yeah, and then Taguchi, the reporter, looks down. He's like, get out of the way. It looks like he's going to try to help her or something, but he actually just reaches down and like pulls her eyelid down. And this is the first time we get a little reveal of this whole maybe like underlying thing for the whole series. I'm not sure, but basically she has a barcode tattooed on the bottom of her left eye.
Of the eye itself too.
Yeah, the eye itself, like on the white of the eye.
Yeah.
And so yeah, not on the eyelid, but on the eyeball.
Maybe that's what's under his patch. Yeah, he's got like the patch has a smiley face on it. Maybe that's like he gets like...
or maybe he ripped his eye out to get away from them or something, and he was one of these killers.
Maybe, and that's why it's freelance, because it's all under the table kind of.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. This is our speculating. But anyway, he sees that, and the cops are like, what are you doing? And we get him out of the way. But that's kind of like the first reveal we see. Oh, someone's got a barcode in their eye? That's weird. And so... yeah, and then right after that is where the little sister thing happens, which I thought was funny. But it was funny just to see that it doesn't really have to do with the plot. So I was like, we don't need to go through the whole thing. But it was like, it's just interesting how at first you're like, obviously she doesn't care. Like she seems very nonchalant about him being out and about with regular people until those regular people are her little sister.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's like the first big murder that they run into. It's solved, and then also like it just happened to be solved by him. It was like the first one that was solved by him, and it's also like some of the first real gore you see in the movie, the graphic. This could totally be a movie, by the way.
Yeah, it could.
Interesting. It is a TV show, from what I heard. There's like a live action TV show directed by Takashi Miike, the guy that did Ichi the Killer, and some of those Japanese horror movies. But yeah, and then so like he's reading up on the notes of this girl who was the cannibal killer, and we see that he's reading like, oh, there's a barcode under her left eye. He's like, huh, and it says it's a bruise shaped it's a bruise in the shape of a barcode. It's like, bitch, it's like barcodes are not in the shapes of things or whatever.
No,
like,
and they even mentioned it later. Like he said, like barcodes are printed; they're not.
Yeah, like you can't have something in the shape of a barcode. That would be a square. Like it doesn't make any sense. So, then they get like a call to go to the next crime scene of like kind of the next. This is like the rest of the book is kind of based on this serial killing, but we also see like a little thing that I don't know if it's going to come back later, but we see that the sister goes like, oh, she forgot her fingers or whatever, and she's talking about her, the Isano, and apparently Isano's got 2 fingers that she's missing that like she lost in, I guess, work or police work or something. I think she used to be a cop, they say, and then she like got injured on the job and then was like, okay, I'll just work for this private institute or something. Yeah. So, but yeah, she basically doesn't have 2, her like, I think it's a pinky and ring finger that she doesn't have on her left hand. So, and then she like, I guess, usually wears prosthetics, I guess, for them, but she forgot them this day. So they go to the crime scene. Of course, Taguchi's there already. He's like I said, he's Johnny on the spot.
Everywhere. Yeah.
He already knows where everything is. And so, but what they find today is apparently at 6 a.m, someone was jogging with their dog. They see a dog. Their dog stops to dig up something. And what does the dog dig up? it looked like he was digging up a flower at first, and then turns out it's a person with their
deeper,
head.
it's a brain. A little bit deeper, it's the head with an exposed brain.
Yeah. So we see the skull or like the full fleshed out skull of someone with the brain, like the head, like like on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, they bring out the dessert
brains,
and it's monkey brains. Yeah, it's like that where he removes the little top of the head and he's like monkey brains. It's like that, except it's already removed, and then there's like a plant in the top of it. And when I say there's a plant, it's like a fully rooted flower, like a lily or something, just like growing out of this
sprouted
fucking,
up from the
this person's head. And so, it's really fucked up. And then so they find that one, and then Amamiya's looking around as they're like, wow, I can't, man, this is a really fucked up way to die or whatever. That's crazy. And they're thinking it's only one body. And then Amamiya's looking around. He's like, there's like 6 other of these plants around here. Like, I bet if you dig those up, there'll be other bodies under that or whatever. And they're like, holy shit. Someone's using these bodies as flower pots or whatever. So, then I don't know if this was just like a coincidence or something, but they are at a restaurant after this, just talking about the case and all that stuff. And he's like, I got to use the restroom. And when he goes to the restroom,
well, I think what it is, it's that they're all missing persons that they find, and they were all at this restaurant.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so that was the common thing. They go there, I guess, because it was the common denominator.
That was exactly.
That's what it was. Okay, I forgot about that. So yes, so they go to this restaurant, and I guess they're there. I don't know if they're eating there or if they're just like
checking
it out. They're at a table though, eating water or whatever, or drinking water, eating water. They're eating a lot of water at this restaurant.
I'm full.
Yeah. And so as Kobayashi, or I guess it's Amamiya now, is going to the bathroom, he like comes out and he sees this dude doing like, I don't know, is he like doing pills or whatever? He's making some kind of...
He's making his own drug.
Yeah, he's making his own concoctions. But we see this dude, and this dude is drawn extremely weird. His face looks, I don't know, like... It looks different than all the other art in the whole book.
It reminds me of River Phoenix. From like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Like that's what his face looks like?
Yeah.
Like they were trying to like copy a face.
That's just what it came off to me as.
To me, I'm just saying like the drawing style is different on this dude's face than everybody else's. Like, specifically.
It's very like unique and dull almost.
Yes. Yeah, almost like there's just like no detail on his face or something. It gives it like, I don't know, like he just has a different looking face than everybody else.
Very almost like blank expression with like no life.
Like he's like injected in Botox all over his face or something. And
yeah.
There's no wrinkles or anything, and it's just like, hey, how's it going? Like, just can't really talk because it's all.
You can't tell, but I'm smiling right now.
It almost looks like he's wearing a mask, like a human mask.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, like a human face mask or something. Yeah, it just looks weird and creepy. And like he actually stops and looks at Amamiya and he's like,
I've seen your face before.
Have we met before? Like, you seem familiar. And he's like, nah, I think you got the wrong guy. He's like, I guess so. And like I thought that was super weird when I first read this, but I mean, they reveal right after this because like this dude from that restroom is coming back from that restaurant, I guess, and he's like, oh god, this thing's so heavy, and he's got like a suitcase. He's like, like I just got back from work. Did you miss me? And then there's the reveal that he's walking into like a big arboretum or whatever that somehow he owns or works at, and we cut to these women who are naked and bound in weird like belt harnesses around all their parts, we'll say. And
yeah.
And
very very like
bondage.
BDSM.
Yeah, BDSM kind of thing. And then they have like ball gags in their mouth and stuff. And then the tops of their heads are cut off and there's plants growing out of them. And he's like, did you miss me? My beautiful flowers. And like it's just really, really creepy. And then you get like weird shading on him too in this scene. Like I literally thought he was gonna rip his like person mask off, or something. Just the way that his face looks in this, but that does not happen.
The twist is he's a plant.
Yeah, there you go. He's Poison Ivy's son or something. I don't know. But like, yeah, so he's like, oh, did you miss me, my lovely flowers? And the gross thing is that these girls are obviously alive still. They're like drooling and stuff because the plants are eating into their brains, so they have brain damage. Also, their brain's exposed or whatever, so I'm sure that's not helping. And they like try to talk and stuff to him. He's like, oh, my angels, my flowers. And then like one of them tries to say something, and he's like, you're not supposed to talk. Flowers don't talk. Stop talking. And then like she's saying like help or whatever, but you know, it ain't gonna.
No, it's not flying with him.
Yeah, it's not. He's just like, shut up, flower. And so then he's like, hey, I found a replacement today for you anyway, so don't worry about it. And so pulls out another girl he must have got from the. It was one of the girls he was talking to at the restaurant actually.
Yeah.
And so the flower that I was asking for help. He's like, oh, I'll just have this cleaned up in a second now that he has the new girl. And he yanks the flower out of her brain, it includes her brain.
Yeah, because the
roots has gone so
pops
deep.
the brain out.
Yeah, and that is a very graphic scene. That is like, holy shit.
Yeah, like just all of this blood comes like volcanoing out of her head. I don't know how to describe it.
Very creepy. Very creepy. Then we see this dude is taking a shower and he's talking about like, oh, there must be something wrong with my liver. The whites of my eyes have gone so yellow. And then he's looking at one of his eyes and we see he's got a barcode. He's got a barcode eye. So now we said Amami is on the case now, you know, and his old boss, Sasayama, is here as well because obviously he's with the police and he's like, you know, you better stay in shape. You know, you got to make sure you're with us at all times kind of thing because he does not trust him. So, but he's like, you know, he's talking about, you know, you want to know who the flower killer is. You know, that's why I'm here. He's like, there were bodies over there, bodies over here. So they're kind of going over the crime scenes, and he's like, what do you see over there? You know, he's pointing out like there was the positions of these flowers. They seem to be in very specific areas only. And he's like, well, what's over there? And we see there's a place called Flower Children that's like a restaurant, and they go over there, and then as they go over there, they're like, I wonder if it's like the cook at this place or someone related to this thing. And then they notice that from the terrace, you can actually see the specific areas where those flowers were. They're like, I wonder if the guy like eats here every day or something and just like looks at his flowers and knows.
He secretly knows. Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Like those are my special flowers that I planted. And I should say, I don't know if it's just their heads that he cuts off and plants, or if he actually digs like a 6 foot deep body hole or whatever. I don't know. I can see him doing that.
The whole body.
They never show the whole body, but I can see him digging a 6 foot deep
hole and just planting a person.
Yeah, that's kind of why I thought it was. You know,
that's creepier.
Yeah, that is creepier to me. I don't know why, but that's creepier. Because then what does he do with the whole body? You would think the flower is the cover for the whole murder, right? So it's got to be the whole body. Right? So, but anyway, so Amamiya is like looking around and he notices there's some like medals for like best architecture of this whole area or whatever, like on the wall. And he's like, what about the architect? Like maybe the architect is the one who built this place and who built the other places that like are close to those other murder scenes that we found. But obviously they can't just like rush into his house, just like in America. Apparently you have to get a search warrant. So they're like, okay, we got to, get enough evidence to, get a search warrant for this dude. And in the meantime, they go back to their houses or whatever. And so Amamiya is like watching TV one morning or the next morning, I guess, or I don't know if it's later that day or in the morning, but he wakes up because he's in bed. He looks over at the TV and there's like an interview with like, here's the person responsible for the architecture of the Flower Child restaurant. And it's like the guy. And he sees the guy and he recognizes the guy. And it's the dude that he saw at the fucking restaurant, the first restaurant in the bathroom doing drugs. And he's like, holy shit, I know that guy. And
Satoru Ueno?
Yeah. What's his name? Oh, yeah. They call him Mr. Ueno. So he basically he's just a architect or whatever who is apparently also a serial killer. And so
I just love flowers.
Yeah, it's just it's just one of those things, and he's watching him in this interview, and I think while he's watching this interview, something happens and he switches to Shinji because
his eyes change again.
Yeah, his eyes change again, and also he runs out of the room. He doesn't have his glasses on either for this part.
Oh, that's true.
And then as he's leaving, because Isano is coming up to his room. I guess now they're like, hey, we're going to get him. So, we need you, for I guess there for the arrest or whatever. And so, but in the meantime, he's walking into the town or whatever, and her little sister from before sees him and goes, Mr. Amamiya, and he doesn't say anything to her, just ignores
walks
her.
Right past.
So it's like, oh, obviously he must be that other person. And so then I don't know if that was a live interview or not. It might have been a live interview, but maybe that's why he has to run out or whatever. But basically, the Mr. Ueno guy, the serial killer, he gets a call while he's driving back, and it's like, I have information about the investigation. And this dude is like kind of stuttering and stuff. And then, real quick, we cut to the next issue, but John said this was the creepiest cover of all.
Yeah, this cover was definitely like, whoa, like turning the page. It was like, oh,
yeah,
because it's a bondagey naked woman with a gas mask on, and her boobs are out, but one has a nipple and the other there is a nipple missing, and there's like an eyeball coming through where that would be.
Like if someone took off the areola and put an eyeball there. Way creepy. It's a creepy.
Super creepy.
So, John likes it for other reasons, though. So.
Oh my God. Yeah, 17-year-old John inside of me was like, oh man, poster on my wall.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so now they have the warrants and everything, but Mr. Ueno is not. I don't know. He's somewhere. He's on a roof somewhere, and they keep saying, we got him. We just have to get some physical evidence once we get up there. We hope it's not all gone or something. So they're going up to his place. It's the reporter, Taguchi, and it's Sasayama, the police investigator. And they're like, hey, do you smell gas? As they're like walking up to his apartment or I don't know if it's apartment or if it's, it's just his
I assume it's his apartment, yeah.
But yeah, so they're like,
his atrium.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, the guy's like, do you smell gas? And then all of a sudden, you see a phone call being dialed, and you see this whole device he set up on top of his stove, which is like, if he calls it, leaves a message, the message machine will turn, and that string will, pull on a lighter that's set up to blow the whole place up, along with all the bodies and everything too. So he's got all the other flowers there. The flowers, I say, meaning the victims.
Yeah. And
they're all in that room or that place too. So it sparks. They all get blown up, along with not everybody. No one dies, I don't think, out of those policemen, but like they definitely get like, what the fuck, like, shocked and hurt from it. And then we cut to later that night where Mr. Ueno is waiting. He just escaped the police. He blew up his apartment and everything. And he's waiting for someone. Someone starts walking up with coffee. And just from the back of him, you can kind of tell, oh, it's Amamiya, right? But it's probably Shinji Amamiya or something.
Yeah.
But Mr. Ueno's like, Kiyoshi. And he's like, what? He's like, it's been so many years. And he's like, Kiyoshi. He's like, I'm not him. Or he's like, he's like, this time I don't have the wrong guy. Like, you gotta be the right guy, right? So this, in my mind, might mean that Kiyoshi might have been another personality that he had at some other time and met this serial killer at another time, and that's why
he recognized his face.
Yeah, but he doesn't have him in it, or he's super buried or something, and so that's why he's like, no, I'm not that guy. But basically, we kind of get that this is Shinji who's meeting this guy, so it's the second killer personality. And this kind of like they're talking to each other about, isn't this great or whatever. Then it turns out the coffee that he brought him was poisoned, and basically he has passed it, or like he's like paralyzed now, and he goes, he's like, oh, unfortunately,
Kiyoshi is already gone.
Oh. So I missed that.
Yeah. So
John just pointed this out to me. I'm fucking stupid.
I missed it too until right now. We're like, oh crap! So
So yeah, what we're reading on this page, we kind of have the page up while we're looking at this. So it says, he says, what the fuck? Like, what? Why is my head all fucked up? He's like, Kiyoshi, it can't be you. And then you see Amamiya smirk, and he's like, oh, it's so unfortunate, so unfortunate. Kiyoshi Murata is already long gone. Truly, how unfortunate for you, though. Since you hadn't seen him in such a long time. So obviously this was like an old serial killer personality that he had. So man, I want to read some more of these books, and I wonder like if they go into his past about how he's killed people.
And how many? Yeah. So how many does he actually have in him?
Yeah.
So Amamiya, pardon me, is there still, but he is definitely not in the body right now. And then
Shinji is in the body right now, but apparently there was a third serial killer named Kiyoshi,
who is long gone. We don't know if that one's dead, like killed. Like,
but Shinji says, and I'm in his place. Shinji, Nishizono, if you will, or he introduces himself like a new person, and the guy's like, "What?" And it's funny because this is the first time that dude's face looks real. He's all scared, and he's like, "What?" Like he's terrified.
It's the first time he has like real expression.
Yeah, and so very interesting that's like the first time he actually sees, something happening. And so then like they're saying, we cut to the next day and they're like, do you have any news on Ueno? And they're like, no, he disappeared and we don't know where he went. But also we haven't seen Amamiya for a day or whatever either. So then she looks out her window and Amamiya's there and she's got his glasses too. She's like, oh,
that's weird.
That's interesting. I wonder what happened. And so she goes, talks to him, and then they, I guess, go back to where is it? Is it like, was it when they?
So, well, and then they're going to go back because she's like, where have you been? He's like, I don't know. I don't remember anything. But then
that's right.
They go back and it's like weeks later and they find the body of Ueno.
Yes. And so Ueno's actually been decapitated and buried like the ladies were. They have a flower coming out of his head. And his eye is missing too, which is interesting as well. And so she's very suspicious of Amamiya, and he's like, I don't remember what happened.
I don't
which I actually do believe that he doesn't really remember what happened. At least initially. I don't know. Maybe because, if Shinji was the one who did it, maybe he'll find stuff later on that obviously shows that, I was the one who did it or whatever. But yeah. So he said, and then we get the big reveal at the very end of this that he said, oh yeah, I'm sure he had a barcode on his eye, but we can't find it to confirm. But I also have a barcode on my left eye. And so he shows, and he's like, what the fuck? So that's the very end of this. And yeah, that's like a super fucked up ending to this. The dude, the serial killer, the plant, I don't know what to call him. The plant maker, the flower or whatever. He was super disgusting and like disturbing. So, but on that note, John, of all of this craziness, what would you give it?
It was really good. The art is fantastic. All the pages where you turn to something like crazy happening were very like intense.
Yeah, those page turns, I was like, damn, they really worked this out.
Yeah. So this one was another really good. And again, like it's interesting, like, looking at a manga, you feel like, oh man, that's going to be a read. Like,
yeah, it's like it's at least 200 pages.
And for the most part, I mean, at least with the ones that we've had, obviously, like a good balance of like talking and action and whatnot. Like they're really quick reads. I mean, I'm sure I've read this in under an hour. I know, maybe 45 minutes. And I mean, I was engaged the entire time, and I still like. Obviously, we miss things until we're coming back to it now. So
yeah, no, I've read this one twice, and I still didn't realize that he was a fourth person.
A fourth one in there, yeah,
or an old fourth person that other guys recognized. I just thought, he keeps saying it's you, or I recognize you. That's weird, or whatever. But I didn't catch that. So, and that's stupid of me because he literally says, "No, I'm not him. I'm me." But I just thought he meant like. I'm not that guy. I'm literally someone else completely not. Oh, that was another personality that's gone now or whatever.
So I would definitely read the next one to see, like you said, like kind of see if they flesh it out more. you said it kept going, so obviously there has to, people would get tired if it was the same thing over and over, just him old.
Yes, and because it's a manga, it's going to get weirder.
So, exactly. Yeah, like that's the one thing we kind of said with as we've been reading these is like, so you have a premise. And then then there's a twist, and then because it's a manga, there's another twist,
a bigger twist,
that you didn't,
a better twist.
Like he's like we're gonna find out later that he's an alien as well,
or he's been abducted and aliens are real, and it turns out that they have a serial killer program to keep humans in check or something. I don't know.
Something. Either way, I liked it a lot. The story, the writing, the art, everything was really good. It's very solid. I definitely want to read more. I'm gonna give it a 7.
7? Yeah. I'm going to want a 7 too. It was a good introduction, a little confusing. That's my only not complaint, but with this kind of premise, you definitely have to figure out maybe a better way to show the transition of him into, and it might be a language thing. Maybe in Japanese it's very obvious that he's switching personalities, but in ours it just goes just shows an eyeball, and you hear tink or whatever, or shing, or he says it out loud once. Shing, and then you're like, what? And he's like, nothing. And then you realize, oh, he's a new guy or whatever. Yeah. He's Amamiya, not Kobayashi or whatever. And so it was like, wait, is that something? Am I not realizing? So maybe if there was something a little more pronounced or whatever that was more obvious to me, or maybe I'm just fucking soft or whatever, or I'm not too fast on the uptake on stuff, but basically it just sometimes it seemed a little confusing about what was going on as far as who's who and which one am I reading now, so but yeah, but I do say at the same time you could tell, maybe you didn't know which one it was, but you could tell his personality changes when it does change, the way that they always gave a full frame shot of his face after each change that made it seem like, oh, he's got a smirk now, or his eyes are a different shape or something, So things like that will kind of give it away.
He wasn't wearing glasses in the last one, so.
Yes, very true. So yeah, I guess Shinji doesn't wear glasses, and it's the little things like that you might not pick up if you've only read it once, you know, kind of thing. So it's definitely one of those things. I really like it. It was a little confusing. I do want to read more. So I'm going to give it a 7, just like you. I think that was fair. It's really solid, but you might have to read it multiple times. That's my only down thing. But it isn't really a down because it's a fast read, and it was really good. So that's the only caveat, but it's not really a caveat because it's a solid book. So, but yeah, on that note, what are we reading next time, John?
I believe Mr. Sandman. I'm sure it's nothing sweet and happy about this comic from the look of it. I don't know anything about this.
Don't murder me in my special dream.
I know nothing about this except it's written by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. So we're gonna read Sandman by Neil Gaiman. The first story. I don't know what the first book is, but the first story arc we're gonna read. So
yeah, and he told me that we're gonna read this, but we have to read the second one because the second one is where it's really gets intense.
Yeah, basically that's what I was like. Oh, this is the good stuff or whatever. But
okay,
we'll read this one, then we'll give it a little break, then we'll read the second one.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
it's no Gaiman, so I know it's gonna be
a little verbose.
Yeah,
verbose. He's a writer.
He's an excellent writer. No, don't American Gods is fantastic.
Oh yeah, of course.
But that means this comic's gonna be intense.
Yeah, there's definitely some. It's a very astute literature book or whatever. So, but yeah, it is. I mean, this show's coming out soon too.
Was there a Sandman show?
Yeah, there's a Sandman show coming out.
I know there's a radio or call it radio drama.
Yeah, there's a radio drama, but no, there's an actual show coming out.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. I don't remember
what it's on. If it's on HBO
I'm usually up on
or
that.
something. It got cast and everything. There was a big hubbub because they cast Death as a black woman, and I guess people were like, "What? How could that be?" or whatever. So I don't know. Fuck if I know. But either way, that's what we're reading next week.
Sandman.
Sandman. You haven't read it at all. You know nothing about it.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
I know. I've seen the cover. Is it all in black and white? Right?
No, it's not black and white at all.
Oh, it's not. Okay. No. The covers I've seen look like they were black and white. So
no.
Oh, okay.
John doesn't know what he's talking about.
Is there a turtle in it?
No.
No, I don't know.
Are you talking about the Ninja Turtles channel?
No. I don't know. I had some idea of like some. Oh, you know what? I know what it was. It was because that episode of Rick and Morty. You were like, oh, this is like kind of like a reference to Sandman, but I didn't know that at the time because there was some guy that was after. Like there was like a time turtle, but the time turtle had nothing to do.
That's
with
from Rick and Morty. That has nothing to do with it.
But the character that was after him was you were like,
Yes.
oh, that's like supposed to be like
Morpheus
Sandman.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
No turtles in this.
So we'll read that one. So check it out, or check it out beforehand, or
Have a spoiler for you.
Exactly, and we will see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.